The chandeliers of Hawthorne Manor burned bright, their golden light spilling across polished marble floors and silk-draped walls. Nobles filled the grand hall, murmuring behind gloved hands, every whisper circling the same subject, the arrival of the Duke of Ravensshade. His name alone carried weight, wealth beyond measure, land that stretched farther than some kingdoms, and a reputation as cold and unyielding as iron. When the tall doors opened, silence fell instantly. The Duke entered with calm authority, his dark coat tailored to perfection, his expression unreadable. He did not rush, he did not smile, he simply observed, eyes sharp, as though the room itself were being judged. Every young lady straightened her posture, every mother held her breath. Lord Hawthorne stepped forward confidently, his pride barely concealed. On either side of him stood his daughters. Alara, the elder, was everything society adored. Her golden hair shimmered beneath the lights, her gown embroidered with delicate silver threads. She had practiced this moment since childhood, how to stand, how to smile, how to lower her eyes just enough to appear modest yet desirable. Tonight, she was certain of her destiny. Beside her stood Morel. She wore a simple dress, pale blue and unremarkable. Her dark hair was neatly pinned back, her hands folded nervously before her. She had not been prepared for this night, not truly. She was here because she had been told to stand there, nothing more. Lord Hawthorne leaned slightly toward the Duke, his voice low and assured. "Take the pretty one." A confident smile tugged at Alara's lips. The words felt like a promise already fulfilled. The Duke's gaze rested on Alara briefly. He noted the perfection, the practiced smile, the flawless posture, the expectation shining unmistakably in her eyes. Then his gaze shifted. It moved past the jewels, past the performance, and settled on Morel. She did not meet his eyes immediately. When she did, there was no ambition there, only surprise, uncertainty, and a quiet dignity that had never been encouraged to bloom. The Duke studied her longer than politeness required. The hall seemed to hold its breath. "I have made my choice," he said at last. Alara's smile widened, her heart pounding with triumph. "I choose her." Confusion rippled through the room before shock struck like thunder. The Duke stepped forward, not toward Alara, but toward Morel, and offered his gloved hand. Morel froze. Her father stiffened, his face draining of color. Alara's expression shattered, disbelief flickering into humiliation. Morel's fingers trembled as she slowly placed her hand in the Duke's. The weight of every stare pressed down on her, but the Duke's grip was steady, certain. In that moment, the girl no one had ever chosen became the center of the room, and nothing would ever be the same again. "If you're ready, I can now expand Scene 2 in 450 words or continue with Scene 3, or create image prompts for this scene." The carriage rolled forward beneath a sky heavy with dusk, its wheels humming softly against the cobblestone road. Inside, silence wrapped itself tightly around Morel. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, her fingers twisting the fabric of her dress as if it might anchor her to reality. Across from her, the Duke of Ravensshade sat composed and still, his gaze fixed on the darkening horizon. Morel dared not speak at first. Every mile carried her farther from the only life she had known, a life where she was invisible, tolerated, never celebrated. The words her father had spoken replayed in her mind, sharp and humiliating. "Take the pretty one." She wondered if the Duke already regretted his choice. At last, she broke the silence. "Your Grace, you do not have to do this." The Duke turned to her. Slowly, his expression unreadable but not unkind. "I have already done it," he replied. Ravensshade rose from the mist like something out of legend, stone towers etched against the night sky, torches flickering along the gates. Morel expected judgment, whispers, perhaps laughter. Instead, the servants bowed as she entered, their movements precise and respectful, as though her presence mattered. Days passed in a strange calm. Morel was given rooms warmed by firelight, shelves lined with books, and time, something she had never truly owned. No one ordered her to perform. No one compared her to Alara. The absence of constant evaluation felt unsettling, like walking without chains she had grown used to carrying. The Duke joined her for evening tea one night. She spoke timidly of stories she loved, of poetry she read in secret as a child. Instead of boredom, she found curiosity in his eyes. He listened, not to respond, but to understand. "Why did you choose me?" she asked finally, her voice barely steady. The Duke's gaze softened, shadows flickering across his face. "Because you were honest without trying to be," he said. "Everyone else wanted to be chosen. You did not." She lowered her eyes. "I was never meant to be." "Neither was I," he answered quietly. He spoke then, not of titles, but of being valued only for power, for what others could gain. Of a life where admiration was loud but understanding was rare. That night, something inside Morel shifted. She realized she had not been brought to Ravenshade to be hidden away or reshaped. She was there to grow, without comparison, without rejection. Far away, at Hawthorne Manor, her absence left a hollow silence. Alara's beauty no longer dazzled without a victory to confirm it, and Lord Hawthorne felt an unfamiliar weight settle in his chest. The girl no one saw was no longer invisible, and for the first time in her life, Morel began to believe she never had been. When you're ready, I can now expand Scene 3, 450 words, or create image prompts for Scene 2. The royal ballroom shimmered beneath hundreds of crystal lights, their reflections dancing across polished floors like scattered stars. Music swelled softly as nobles gathered, dressed in silks and jewels, all eager to witness the arrival of the Duke of Ravenshade and his wife. Whispers floated through the crowd, curious, cautious, expectant. When the doors opened, silence followed. Morel stepped inside beside the Duke, her hand resting calmly in his arm. She no longer walked as the forgotten daughter of Lord Hawthorne. Her posture was steady, her expression composed, her presence unmistakable. The gown she wore was elegant but restrained, its beauty drawn not from excess but from grace. She did not seek attention, yet attention found her. Across the hall, Alara stood frozen. She had dressed more carefully than ever, every curl arranged, every jewel chosen with intention. Yet as Morel moved forward, Alara felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest. This was not envy of beauty, it was the painful realization that beauty alone had never been enough. Murmurs rippled through the court. That is her, the younger sister. How changed she is. Lord Hawthorne watched, his confidence long since eroded. The daughter he had dismissed now carried herself with a quiet authority that no instruction could teach. For the first time, he understood the cost of his own blindness. When Morel approached him, the noise around them faded. He bowed his head slightly, his voice low. I was wrong, he said. I failed you. Morel studied him for a moment, not with bitterness, but with clarity. I know, she replied. There was no accusation in her tone, only truth. But I am no longer defined by it. She turned away, leaving him standing in regret he could not undo. The Duke led Morel toward the center of the ballroom as the music resumed. When they danced, it was not a performance for the court. It was a partnership, balanced, deliberate, equal. The Duke watched her not as a prize he had claimed, but as a woman he respected. As the night unfolded, Morel spoke with nobles and dignitaries, her words thoughtful, her confidence unforced. They listened. They remembered her name. By evening's end, the court understood what Lord Hawthorne had not. The Duke had not chosen the lesser daughter. He had chosen the one who had endured silence and grown strong within it. The one who did not demand attention, yet commanded respect. And as Morel looked out over the glittering hall, she knew this truth fully at last. She had never been rejected. She had simply been waiting to rise.